Terror in Texas, John's Dark Journey. In the middle of the vast deserts of Texas, an old hospital for the insane stood bleak and abandoned. This hospital, which was closed years ago, was known as a place where many tragic events took place. People whispered that the screams they heard here were carried on the wind at night and that something still lived behind the closed doors of the hospital. John was one of the rare people who managed to escape from this hospital. The dark circles under his eyes bore the traces of the nightmares he experienced. A month ago, while imprisoned behind the high walls of the hospital, he had seen horrific images that pushed his mind to the limits. However, he finally found an opportunity and escaped from that cursed place. Now, in his modest home in a small Texas town, he was trying to get back to normal. For the first month after John's escape, she thought her life was back on track. He would drink his coffee in the mornings and relax after the day with a few drinks at the local bar in the evenings. However, even the peaceful atmosphere of the town was insufficient to make him completely forget the horror he experienced. One night, as he was leaving a bar on the town's main street, John suddenly felt dizzy. The world around him began to blur and suddenly, echoes of the screams he heard in the hospital rang in his ears. He barely found his way home and collapsed on his bed. Starting that night, John's nightmares began to return. Every time he closed his eyes, he wandered through the cold and dark corridors of the hospital. Voices whispering behind walls, shadows wandering through empty rooms, and blood-curdling screams were following him. When he woke up one morning, he realized that his hands were covered in blood. However, he could not find the source of this blood at home. The dark shadow of madness loomed over his mind again. John began to feel compelled to return to the hospital. One night, when the feeling became unbearable, he headed to the old hospital. Although the townspeople tried to prevent his journey, they were unsuccessful. As John pushed open the heavy iron door of the hospital, he heard the door that had been closed for years creaking open. Once inside, his steps echoed through the dark corridors, signaling that he had returned to where his horror began. Now, for John, the boundary between reality and madness had been completely erased. The darkness had engulfed him again, and this time he didn't even know if escape was an option. The hospital doors closed once again behind John, and inside, the darkness accumulated over the years embraced him forever. In the deserts of Texas, an old hospital for the insane accepted a new inmate.